Emotions and your environment play a tremendously big role in how resilient your mind and your health is towards toxicity. However, toxicity does not just come in the form of food and in the form of your environment. It can also stem from your mindset. Hi, my name is Evette Rose, author and founder of Metaphysical Anatomy, which is a book of 679 medical ailments and also the hidden emotional messages behind them that we all share universally. And welcome to today's session where I will be talking about how your emotions combined with your environment can potentially be a part and an aspect of cancer being triggered. And this is part 2 of 2. So if you can recall from part 1 of 2 of this series, I talked a lot about the emotional stress and how this also impacts your body and your health, as well as your mind can have a direct effect on your gut microbiome, which can then affect your immune system, causing the body to become weaker and weaker, and also less healthy to fight toxins from your environment. Because when you energize certain negative emotions, consciously or subconsciously, they can then aggravate and irritate already vulnerable parts of your body that has pre-existing inflammation or perhaps cell damage as a result of toxins from your environment, which includes diet, which I already here in this part explain in part 1. Now, which parts of the body is affected depends on the type of cancer that a person might have. So for today's talk, I will be addressing things for example, in the broader sense of the word and also explanations. And on my premium website, evetterosepremium.com, I dive into different types of cancer and also the sessions for each type with much more detail. So where we feel certain emotions flaring up, for example, in different parts of the body, universally for each person on this planet, because our biological blueprint is after all the same. It's all the same. So let's move on to the emotional body and also psychological programming that takes place early in your life, or even a recent, for example, build-up of that. Because as you know, there's a strong relationship between emotional stress and how it also connects to and becomes associated as a memory in your subconscious mind and physical body, which then responds to and reacts to your environment and also relationship interactions. In this case, the impact that, for example, your psychological stress can have on areas in your body, depending on the type of emotion and also the intensity of that you energize. It could be, for example, that you're either suppressing, say, perhaps something consciously that you have conscious awareness of. Let's look at key factors in the body that can trigger cancer growth if they're not functioning optimally. And I will also explain the psychological impact of negative emotions that can also be held in these areas, which, if they are energized enough, can become a great influencing, amplifying factor. So let's start with, say, the immune system. And when this area is affected, you are dealing with high levels of stress that continues to set off the body's instinctive responses into the fight or flight state. Now, it could be a traumatic memory from the past that the body never really fully healed from. And also the subconscious memories connected to this traumatic event keeps now being triggered by your relationship dynamics and perhaps environmental dynamics. So emotionally and psychologically speaking, it means that a person feels under attack. And this can be either verbally or emotionally or physically. And patterns here have also now shown that a person feeling that they cannot trust anyone, no one is trustworthy, which then triggers a very heightened defensive state in a person's ability, and for example, in their ability to connect, which is all that we want. And when I say connect, we can connect to anyone. However, there's a difference between connecting with someone and really connecting and relating because we feel safe. A person might feel stressed because people have in their life, for example, perhaps relied on them, However, these people are not always healthy company for them. Okay, so when we look here at the gut, it normally represents a very stressful or even hostile or abusive family dynamics where a person felt stuck and trapped in it. Now, it also comes down to even feeling emotionally invaded by certain family members, and then as a result, feeling powerless to counterbalance their intrusive behavior. So, even if they had a perceived healthy dynamic, it could also have been smothering. It could also have felt controlling, even though the intentions were positive. The outcome and the effect on the person on the receiving end might not have necessarily be as positive for them. Also moving on, then we also here have a virus as possible causes, which then emotionally or psychosomatically speaking points to a very low self-esteem. Feeling, that feeling of having to be made feel unworthy, like feeling completely, utterly like nothing. And also unworthy in life and the presence, especially in the presence of influential people, and to the point where a person feels unworthy of even being alive. Now, along with also viral infections, we also have bacterial infections, right? So bacterial invasions, which emotionally or psychomatically speaking now here can also point to very deep feelings of guilt, of feelings of regret. And this can be due to for perhaps past actions. And these feelings could also have been projected onto a person by someone else. Another aspect here that we have is fungus. Now, fungus also plays a very, very important role in cancer. And when you look at the emotions held in fungus, you're looking at very deep, deep-seated resentment being held towards someone or circumstances that cause a person great injustice or just a big feeling of loss, emotional loss. Could be loss of control as well, especially losing control over an important aspect of their life. Inflammation is also high on the list here, and emotionally or psychosomatically speaking, it means that a person feels deep anger, which is normally suppressed. And the area where the person is, for example, challenged with inflammation will tell you exactly the story behind their unresolved anger. And all the answers can be found in Metaphysical Anatomy 1, because the book there will tell you exactly which part of the body has what message combined with the ailment and what the hidden suppressed emotional stress behind that is. Because here now in this case, anger in this case is triggered because a person feels either powerless, out of control in some aspect of their life, and they feel powerless to express their boundaries, which traps a person into a powerless or victim state of mind. Now, lymph nodes here also play a role. And emotionally or psychosomatically speaking, it means that people who are supposed to love a person is actually feeling really toxic to them. So here in most cases, the person suffering from cancer spent a great deal of time with people's love and support that they needed. However, the relationship dynamic was actually unhealthy and even toxic to them. However, they were relying on them in one way or another and felt helpless or unable to change the dynamic to become healthy or even move away from it. And lastly here also, insulin levels also play a very big role because an increase of insulin can lead to an increase of risk of developing cancer as well, because it can cause cells to grow and to multiply, because cancer cells have many receptors for insulin and also other cells in the body. So what triggers the spike in insulin? It's sugar. Now, sugar is also like gasoline. It's for a burning fire. And in this case, the fire is cancer. So it begs the question, what has completely taken your happiness and joy out of your life? Who or what depleted your ability to be and feel happy? So things here for you now to ponder on. And I also here would like to move on to just a bit of a more general overview of emotional habits and psychological patterns that a person might feel challenged with when this ailment starts to surface. And these patterns can normally stem from, say, a person's childhood right into their present life. And this research I captured in the voice of and words of people who were part of my research and also my clientele. So when this ailment is expressed, you might often experience people's actions and behaviors towards you as feeling, say, invasive, aggressive, or controlling. And when you feel this way, for example, on a regular basis, it might contribute to feeling powerless, angry, out of control as well. And you could actually even start to feel like a victim of circumstances. And your your boundaries have been disrespected, and you've reached a point where you are now angry. You are upset and you are resentful. And you also regret now as a result not setting clearer boundaries or standing up for yourself with loved ones or with people that you know you should have in the past. Now you spend a lot of time stewing over past mistakes, longing for things that should have taken place, or perhaps choices that you feel you should have made but didn't. And you often project a strong, cool, and calm facade, but underneath it all, there's a bubbling volcano. And this facade perhaps have served you over the years, keeping you safe from being or feeling exposed, which would make you feel vulnerable. And here you also give way too much of yourself, especially your time and your energy, and you don't expect to receive it in return. In fact, you probably even feel that that it's safer for you to give it, because that allows you to maintain a sense of control over circumstances and how you also are supported and how you receive. Because here, perhaps it could mean that receiving support equals feeling obligated to giving more of your limited time and energy to others. So by just giving, that can actually be a form of a boundary between you and people. So also from an early age, perhaps you might have felt that you had to be responsible for everyone. And this has created a great deal of resentment as you feel obligated to carrying the burdens of loved ones. And your life also perhaps consists of serving others and being the problem solver and the projector. However, normally, perhaps in this case, to your detriment. So here your parents or influential people might also have caused you to feel ashamed or guilty whenever you expressed emotional needs. And it is also called tough love. And it boils down to feeling defeated, feeling tired, and feeling exhausted by the reoccurring stressful patterns. And so you revert to anger and resentment to build barriers around you to keep you safe from abusers and also from people who took advantage of you. And you use your anger and resentment to express your boundaries. With these emotions, you feel stronger. For example, without them, you would not feel as strong and confident, for example, to say no. So now it is time for you to look after yourself and to prioritize your own needs. You, for example, you should pick up where you left off with your personal goals and your projects, and to stop allowing yourself to feel held back by people's opinions, their judgments, because ultimately those opinions and judgments, it's only a broken, flawed reflection of what they perceive themselves unable to do themselves. And normally that's projected onto you when you end up doing things that they feel they can't. So here also, because of all these cycles, you could feel a great deal of resentment, sadness, or anger for being or feeling stuck in these circumstances after everything that you've done for others, after everything that you feel that you've given back to the world. And your efforts and loyalty have not always necessarily been received very well. It could feel that you felt that they were ignored, and they've been rewarded with even more challenges. Now, there's often also a big link between abuse and cancer. Now, the underlying traumas, for example, of cancer can include violation, emotional invasion, deep senses and feelings of resentment, hardening of the attitude, and also feeling out of control and disempowered. Now, the mentioned trauma of, for example, here are all the same, for example, relating to the symptoms of someone who, for example, have been abused. And that can include emotional, physical, or sexual or spiritual abuse. Now, when the abuse is consistent enough, it can actually cause health problems such as fatigue and depression, swollen lymph nodes, and the list can go on. Now, cancer is also an example of this. And cancer may, for example, start to develop if there's a strong pattern for abuse in your DNA lineage, combined with the poisoning or the toxicity in your environment, along with strong negative emotions that continuously circulate. Now, the toxins may have moved, for example, to a weak area or challenged area in your body, such as, say, your lungs, your kidneys, your brain, skeletal system, the breast area, prostate, lymph nodes. The poisoning could also affect healthy balance in the body, along with the above mentioned emotions. Now, the body may have felt invaded and attacked by its environment, and you may have felt out of control, angry, or invaded in your personal life. Now, cancer is only a symptom of deeper issues. It is the expression of stagnant and accumulated physical or emotional trauma in your life, along with unresolved trauma, perhaps even from your ancestry, your DNA lineage. So your circumstances here could also have been very unpleasant, very stressful. And it is important that you explore how your life had changed, also since being diagnosed with this condition, if this is you, especially from the date of the diagnosis, dating back at least 7 years. What happened during that time that was emotionally or physically traumatic to you? Which of your relationships have improved or ended? What have you lost or gained at the same time? Now, cancer and the ancestral line, for example, general remarks here, inactive trauma now, if combined with the correct circumstances and also environmental factors, can trigger a predisposition in the biological DNA lineage. So previously inactive traumas has recently perhaps been triggered, and a trauma from this lifetime may have activated a suppressed ancestral pattern of trauma. And this could actually also be subtle, yet it can have a very big impact on you. You may also have been born overly sensitive to behaviors of others. Many symptoms that it could have been caused by inherited patterns, which has then become later active. And it's also very important to understand that this does not mean that anyone's at fault within the family or that this condition is triggered. So for example, just in short, this means that if you have an oversensitivity to certain emotions, meaning reactions, relationship dynamics, or environmental stressors, it could be as a result of that there's less resilience within you because of some predisposition from the DNA lineage. And if that predisposition from the DNA lineage is triggered, it can reinforce the oversensitivity that you have, which means it can create even more of a stronger emotional stress response to your environment and relationship dynamics. And remember how we talked earlier in part 1 and part 2, how stress and long-term stress plays a tremendously big role in not just cancer, but in many ailments. So guys, there you have it. So keep up to date with me, keep asking me all these really great questions, and until next time, be the light that you are. Hi guys, thank you for joining me, and remember to grab your copy of Metaphysical Anatomy on Amazon, 679 medical ailments. And I also wrote about the psychosomatic root causes of that, and I'm spoiling you because I even added key points for you to start looking at important questions that you can ask yourself to start improving your quality of life. And also remember to catch me on Instagram, Evette Rose, 1 with the digit 1, and Metaphysical Anatomy on our Facebook fan page. Bye guys!